Good afternoon. Welcome to Kenya News Update. I'm your host. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a story that connects heritage, economy, and identity. This is Foods of Kenya, Episode 4, Garba Tulla. We're broadcasting live from Nairobi on this Thursday, February 16th, 2026. In our studio today, we have Dr. Amina Wanjiru, a cultural anthropologist from the University of Nairobi, and Mr. James Omondi, an agribusiness economist and founder of the Indigenous Ventures Fund. Welcome to you both. Dr. Wanjiru, let's start with you. For our viewers who may not know, where exactly is Garba Tulla and why is it significant in this conversation about Kenyan food? Dr. WNJR, thank you. Garba Tulla is a sub-county in Isiolo County, in Kenya's eastern region. It's semi-arid, with a population of approximately 85,000 people, primarily from the Bo-Rana and Somali communities. Its significance lies in its position as a living archive of pastoralist food systems. While much of our national food narrative centers on the agricultural baskets of the Rift Valley and central Kenya, Garba Tulla represents the other pillar of our culinary heritage: livestock-based sustenance, wild fruits, and drought-resilient crops. It's a knowledge system honed over centuries. Host Mr. Omondi, you look at this from an economic lens. What is the tangible value of this knowledge system Dr. Wanjiru mentions? Omondi, immense but largely untapped. We're not just talking about subsistence. We're talking about a potential industry. A 2025 study by the Kenya Institute for Public Policy Research and Analysis estimated the national value of the natural products industry, which includes foods, medicines, and cosmetics derived from indigenous knowledge, at 230 billion shillings. That's 230 billion. Yet practitioners like Beatrice Kirundu from Vihiga, whom we heard about in a recent report, struggle to find markets and get fair value. The gap between potential and reality is our central challenge. Host, let's put some numbers to that potential. Our data team has been analyzing the sector. We see that in Isiolo County, which includes Garba Tulla, there are an estimated 15,000 households engaged in pastoralism and the harvesting of wild foods like ximenia, baobab, and desert dates. From this activity, preliminary surveys suggest an annual informal economic value of around 1.2 billion shillings. However, formal market penetration, through certified products on supermarket shelves, captures less than 5% of that value. That's a leakage of over 1 billion shillings annually from just one county's indigenous food economy. Dr. Wanjiru, beyond economics, there's a cultural dimension. How does food from a place like Garba Tulla fit into the broader Kenyan identity? Dr. WNJR, it is the identity for many. Consider Nirnyur, a Bo-Rana dish of minced meat with herbs and spices, or Idatu, fermented camel milk. These are not just meals, they are ceremonies, medicine, and social glue. Yet for decades, such foods were marginalized, seen as backward compared to introduced cuisines. There's a parallel here with Nairobi's Macmillan Memorial Library. As reported, it was once a whites-only enclave, a symbol of colonial exclusion. Its restoration and return to the community is about reclaiming space. Similarly, elevating indigenous foods is about reclaiming our cultural and intellectual space. It's demystifying and centering knowledge that was always there, in those dusty library volumes, and in the practices of a herder in Garba Tulla. Host, that's a powerful analogy. James, let's talk barriers. If the value is 230 billion shillings nationally, what's stopping entrepreneurs and the communities themselves from capturing it? Omondi, three main barriers. First, standardization and certification. How do you get a shelf life for a traditional fermented product that doesn't use industrial preservatives? The Kenya Bureau of Standards certification process can cost a small producer between 50,000 and 200,000 shillings. Second, intellectual property. Communities rarely hold patents. Their knowledge is considered prior art, so anyone can commercialize it. Third, infrastructure. Garba Tulla is remote. The cost of transporting 10 kilograms of baobab powder to Nairobi can erase the profit margin. We need localized aggregation and processing centers. Host, let's visualize one of those challenges. Our data shows that for a typical small-scale producer in this sector, the path to market is fraught with cost hurdles. We're also seeing innovation. In the last 18 months, at least 5 new startups have launched focusing on indigenous Kenyan food products. One, based in Meru, has successfully exported packaged moringa and tamarind products to 2 European countries, generating its first $100,000 in revenue. They employed a model of direct partnership with 350 smallholder harvesters, mostly women. Dr. Wanjiru, is there a risk here of exploitation? Of outside companies packaging this knowledge and leaving communities behind, Dr. WNJR, a very real risk. It's the colonial extractive model in a new guise. The library wasn't just restored physically, it was given back. The same principle applies. Benefit sharing agreements must be legally binding. The community of Garba Tulla must be recognized as the rightful owner of the knowledge behind Zawash spice blends or the specific preparation of ghee. It's not just about paying for raw materials, it's about royalties for the intellectual contribution. We have international frameworks like the Nagoya Protocol, but domestic enforcement is weak. Host James, as an investor, does that scare you off? The idea of complex benefit sharing? Oh, Mondi, it's a necessary complexity. It's what makes it sustainable. An ethical brand is a stronger brand, especially for the export markets that value provenance. My fund is looking at a structure where the community, through a cooperative, holds a 15% equity stake in any commercial venture that uses their core knowledge. It aligns long-term interests. The challenge is building the cooperative's capacity to manage that stake. Host, let's look at a potential success model. Consider the global market for superfoods. Baobab powder from Africa is projected to be a $900 million global industry by 2030. Kenya's share is currently negligible, below 1%. If Kenya, and specifically regions like Garba Tulla, could capture just 5% of that future market, it would mean $45 million annually flowing into those rural economies. That requires coordinated action, research on yields, sustainable harvesting training for, say, 5,000 harvesters, and investment in at least 10 medium-scale processing units across the arid counties. Dr. Wanjiru, what role does documentation, like the work at the Macmillan Library, play in all this? Dr. WNJR, it's foundational. You cannot protect what you have not documented. Those bound volumes of newspapers and minutes in the library basement contain weather patterns, grazing histories, early trade records, data that can validate traditional knowledge. We need a similar, living library for indigenous food systems. Recording oral histories from elders, cataloging seed varieties, documenting recipes not as static formulas, but as ecological relationships. This creates the evidence base for intellectual property claims and preserves knowledge against loss. Host, we have about 4 minutes left. Let's talk policy. The current administration under President William Ruto has emphasized the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Does this indigenous food economy fit that agenda? Omondi, it's the perfect fit. It's grassroots, it's spread across the country, and it leverages existing assets, knowledge, and biodiversity. But policy needs to catch up. We need a specific Indigenous Knowledge Products Bill to streamline regulation and protect rights. The Ministry of Agriculture's budget for promoting indigenous crops is still less than 0.5% of its total allocation. That must change. The 230 billion shilling figure should be a national target, not an academic estimate. Dr. WNJRU, I would add education. Our school curricula still teach food and nutrition from a very Western, plate-based perspective. Where is the chapter on the nutritional science behind fermented camel milk, or the environmental wisdom of seasonal foraging? We must bring this knowledge into the mainstream of learning, to build pride and inspire the next generation of food scientists and entrepreneurs from within these communities. Host, final thoughts from each of you. James, in 30 seconds, what's the one thing needed to unlock this? Omon D, patient, impact first capital. We need a dedicated fund of, say, 5 billion shillings to finance the entire value chain, from documentation to processing to branding, with fair community partnerships built in from day one. Host, Dr. Wanjiru, Dr. WNJRU, a shift in mindset. From seeing the foods of Garba Tulla as a relic of the past to recognizing them as a cornerstone of our national food security and cultural sovereignty in a climate-stressed future. It's about respect, reflected in policy, investment, and on our own dinner tables. Host, Dr. Amina Wanjiru and Mr. James Omondi, thank you for a fascinating and crucial discussion. The story of Garba Tulla's foods is a microcosm of a national opportunity to build an economy that is truly Kenyan, rooted in our land and our genius. It's a complex recipe, mixing tradition and innovation, ethics and enterprise. But as we've seen, the potential ingredients are worth 230 billion shillings. The question is, do we have the will to cook it? For Kenya News Update, I'm your host. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to Kenya News Update today.